Welcome to Hockey Night in New York, where Islanders hockey is always top shelf. Whether you got your start as a Dynasty veteran, a Millbury survivor, or you were born into the Church of Trotz, Hockey Night in New York is your home for all things Isles. Now, here are your eclectic hosts, Sean Cuthbert and Christian Arnold.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Hockey Night in New York. Welcome to the program, everyone. It is Sunday, August 1st, 2021. Coming at you live from the Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington. A special edition of Hockey Night in New York coming at you here at 1 p.m. Brian Compton from NHL.com will be joining us. My name is Sean Cuthbert. With me, as always, is this clown right here, Christian Arnold. Christian, how you doing, pal?
I'm good. How are you, Sean?
Did you like that intro?
No.
Not at all?
Not at all.
Not even a little bit?
Not even the slightest.
I guess I can understand that. So, as all Islander fans know, a lot of huge news coming out of Islander country this last week. A lot of signings. Islanders all over the headlines. That's a lie. Not at all. But we got some nuggets. There's some things that are going on behind the scenes, and we're going to talk about that. So, with that being said, Christian, how are you?
Well, I'm still waiting for something to happen. I think
Officially?
yeah, officially. Although it seems like, for all intents and purposes, there's been several signings that just haven't been announced that are in the, either finalizing deals or basically just finalized and need to be announced. And obviously Zach Parise being one of them, Kyle Palmieri being one of them. Casey Cizikas seems like he's at least in the works of being locked up at this point. And
That's the word.
Microphone keeps moving away from.
Well, you're having issues. Are you finished with your thoughts so I can talk about our sponsors, or are you still going?
No, go ahead.
All right, so I want to remind everybody that we are happy to be sponsored by Blue Line Deli and Bagels, where we are right now, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington. Head on down for great food, great people, and great service. Check out the menu at BlueLineDeli.com. And also, we have a jersey giveaway raffle going on right now between now and 3 o'clock. If you're listening, hop in the car. Head over. We're giving away a free Islander jersey. All you have to do is get a raffle ticket when you show up, and you will be entered into a free Islander jersey giveaway. Right. Great stuff there. And, of course, we are proud to be sponsored by TIE Technology, a voice-over IP company providing phone services for businesses across the country. If you're tired of dealing with long hold times and the impersonal service of companies like Spectrum, Optimum, and Verizon, give TIE Technology a call at 516-856-7800 for 3 free months of service.
Sounds pretty good to me.
Not bad, right?
Yeah.
So, Christian, I rudely cut you off before, so we'll get back to what you were talking about. The news behind the non-news.
Which is, there's nothing officially has happened, but everything unofficially has happened.
Yeah,
basically the gist of it.
Right. So, as far as we know, we can safely say here that the New York Islanders have behind the scenes. They signed Zach Parise from Minnesota. We don't know how long. We don't know the terms.
Right.
They apparently re-signed Casey Cizikas.
Would assume the Parise deal, again, because we don't know anything.
We don't know.
Would be a short-term deal, league minimum, laden with bonuses, basically.
Yes.
Similar to what Andy Green had gotten before.
Right, which would make a lot of sense. You have Casey Cizikas coming back. We don't know what the terms are on that. That'll be very interesting.
Right.
Because of some other signings that Casey has been compared to. We'll see how long.
And if he's coming back, it's going to be It's going to be less money but longer term.
That's the trade-off. Assume.
Yeah.
Also, that's the theme of the show tonight. It's just assumptions.
Well, today.
Today. You're right. A lot of assumptions. So you got Parise, you got Cizikas. Now the word is that Kyle Palmieri will be coming back. We would figure that's a long-term deal, maybe somewhere in the $4 to $5 million range, somewhere in that general area.
I would imagine.
Right.
Again, sounds like a longer-term deal. Actually, Dave Pagnotta, who we've had on the show a couple times before, just put out a story kind of implicating that. It would be a longer-term deal, and that these deals seem like they're done. Again, assuming, because we really don't know for sure, and this is just what sources have been telling different people.
And to my surprise, a bit, maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but the word happens to be that Travis Zajac is coming back as well.
Well, it would make sense because you need that center depth, and it certainly gives you a little more security in that aspect of their game. And he's enjoyed being an Islander, and he was a contributor during the playoffs, and even during the regular season a little bit. Maybe not the role that people were thinking of when he came along with Palmieri in that deal, but certainly the Islanders got their money worth because they got a solid player that did what he needed to do in crunch time.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I mean, he was a huge factor in the playoffs. Once Oliver Wahlstrom had that injury, he came in or he never came out. Now, some Islander fans were a little upset about that, but that's the history now.
Right.
But you know what? There's nothing wrong with having another well-respected veteran presence in there. Maybe he'll be the 13th or 14th forward. He's obviously, with the roster we're assuming that the Islanders are coming in with, barring any other, changes between now and October, Zajac's not going to factor into that starting.
No, he's a extra
roster.
forward and a depth centerman that the Islanders need. You can never have too many of those because especially with the season like they're going to have this year with everything so condensed, sort of what we had last year, but longer stretch of games, obviously. Injuries are going to happen more frequently because there's less time off, and that's
right.
even in the world of COVID that we still live in. You're going to need those extra bodies just in case.
No, you're right. We actually have to get used to an 82-game schedule again.
Yeah.
We're going back to the regular divisions.
That too.
And we have a 32nd team now in Seattle.
That's right.
So we're getting back to the normal schedule, but it's weird because
there is a Kraken logo around here somewhere.
Yeah, there is. They got it's right there in the corner. Right there.
Oh,
right
I see
there
it
under
right behind the coffee
Pittsburgh
machine.
Penguins.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah,
I knew it was in here
Look,
somewhere.
Donnie knows what he's doing. He's already got the Kraken logo in here. I mean, this is
got
a beautiful
Kraken on that fast.
Well, Christian, it was great having you here today. Thanks a lot for coming by. But yeah, I mean, look, Donnie knows what he's doing. He's got all the hockey logos here. Beautiful hockey-themed deli, particularly Islander-themed. Everybody knows about it already, but couldn't be happier to be here today for the special edition of Hockey Night in New York.
I got tater trots. I'm happy.
So what's the verdict, man? How were they?
They are darn good.
Are they
absolutely would recommend them?
But are they as good as the Hockey Night in New York wrap?
Better.
You weren't supposed to say that.
Nope, they're better. My God, they're better.
All right.
So good.
All right, well,
and the Hockey
cool.
Night in New York wrap is one of the best sandwiches on the menu.
That's right. If not the
See,
best.
I saved it.
Okay. All right. You made up for it. You can stay.
If you would have just let me finish my thought, it would have been obvious what I'm doing.
I didn't realize that's where you're going. I didn't give you enough credit. I guess that's my bad.
It is.
That's
bad.
my bad.
It's all right.
So yeah, look, you have those guys apparently in the fold. We're comfortable enough to say that that's probably the case. The question is, are the Islanders going to do anything else? And that's what we're going to be talking about. That's what we're going to be speculating about. Another interesting nugget, I guess, that's come out is the Islanders did not opt to qualify Michael Del Zotto. They did not qualify Joshua Ho-Sang.
Mm-hmm.
And
Ho-Sang's going to.
Did he officially sign that PTO with Toronto?
I think that's what
Dave
what their
Pagnotta
but that's
was
what their GM Kyle Dubas had said during a conference call with reporters.
So yes, ladies and gentlemen,
that is a PTO.
We can finally close the book on the Joshua Ho-Sang saga. It's officially over. Mel Armenia, B-Lars 92. to your dismay, it's finally over. And I have nothing but best wishes for Joshua Ho-Sang, but I am glad that we don't have to spend any more time on this show speculating about what the hell is going to happen to that guy.
It's over.
It's officially over. Tony Stabile, I hope you're listening. It's over. We did it.
It's done.
We made it. So we got Brian Compton joining us in about 7 minutes or so. We'll talk about all this stuff with him and all the goings-ons around the league. I mean, Christian...
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's certainly interesting that if you look back now, the 2014 NHL draft for the Islanders now officially looks pretty bad, and that's not to say that I thought Michael Del Cole played bad because
we've been corrected actually. Del Cole, the E's I think was correcting our pronunciation.
Well, Sean was the one who said it for the record.
Okay, we'll go on.
But NHL draft in 2014 for the Islanders. Now, their 2 first-round picks are, Dal Call could come back, could still be a signing as some sort of depth forward for the Islanders.
Two-way contract.
They didn't want to go the route of the qualifying offer.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's off season for everybody, guys. They didn't want to go the route of the qualifying offer, and they could probably get him on a cheaper deal under free agency. Also, Michael Del Cole, we haven't heard a thing about about him at all. And you would have thought at least a guy with some NHL experience who knows how to play a bottom 6 role would have generated some interest from other teams.
Yeah, and we talked about it last week. We were asked on the show, is Michael Del Cole going to get a qualifying offer, and I thought he was. I mean,
So did
not,
I.
Right?
Well, again, you were talking about depth before with the idea of bringing back Travis Zajac. I mean, Dal Call.
Nice.
Yeah, you have me saying it. Dal Cole is still a serviceable bottom six forward, and I think he's developed into a pretty good one for what you get out of him. No, is he what you expected when you're drafted 5th overall in the NHL draft? Not at all.
Of course not, yeah.
But that's not his fault. I mean, that's just the player he was, and perhaps it was a misscout by the Islanders because he did develop into a pretty good bottom six forward for the team and does a pretty good job, and he can score a little bit, and when you give him the right opportunity, he fits in pretty well. So, like I said, you would have thought that at this point, other teams, there's got to be another team out there that could have used a guy like Dal Cole and could have used his services for the lower price that you were going to get him at.
I agree. And look, like you said, we might see him come back, but just maybe under a more team-friendly contract in the sense that if it's two-way, they don't have to worry about, sending him down, whatever the case may be. Whatever it is,
Yeah.
Lou Lamoriello didn't want to give him a qualifying one-way deal.
No, I get it.
And we'll see if he brings him back. And, you wonder if that's even going to happen because now it seems that Zajac is going to be brought back in the fold. And,
That's true, too, yeah.
You can only really carry 1 or 2 extra forwards, and you have Panic.
Well, you still have to fill
Johnston.
You still have to fill out a roster in Bridgeport as well.
This
So
is true.
if he is a two-way contract, he ends up back in Bridgeport.
At this
playing.
point-
and they're also playing a full schedule for the first time in over a year.
Well, look, if Zajac is coming back, and you have Panic there, you have Johnston there, so yeah, where would Dal Cole even end up? Probably Bridgeport if they bring him back. But this is all speculation. We don't know.
No.
We don't know. Del Cole.
Again, that is the theme of the show, is the speculation.
Yeah, and it's moving fast. So, folks, I want to thank you so much for hanging out with us here on your beautiful Sunday afternoon here in the summer. We appreciate it. Here at twitch.tv.
It's kind of cloudy out, so it makes sense that you'd be watching.
Twitch.tv/Hockey Night NY and all your favorite podcast providers. But we're going to take a break here from Blue Line Deli and Bagels because Brian Compton of NHL.com will be joining us. So, thanks again for tuning in. We'll be right back. Buttons.
We'll be right back to nap.
Get back to Hockey Night in New York with Sean Cuthbert and Christian Arnold.
Welcome back to Hockey Night in New York, or I should say Hockey Afternoon in New York, technically, today. Live from Blue Line Deli and Bagels in Huntington, New York, just in case you're confused thinking we're in Huntington, Virginia. Just want to make that clear. Sean didn't make that clear before. But it's that time of the show, as always, our favorite segment where we go on the line, brought to you by our other friends in Tide Technology. And we bring in this week's guest, the solid person in Brian Compton from NHL.com.
Solid. How are you, boys?
What's going on, B-Comp? How are you?
I'm good. Now, nobody's really...
Well, we're having a little technical issue here because B-Comp is cutting in and out a little bit.
Let's try that again, B-Comp.
Yes.
Can we hear you?
Can you hear me
Yes,
now?
we can.
Yes, just
You're
like
here.
those old
We got you.
Verizon commercials back in 1875. You remember that year well, Brian, don't you?
I do. Thank you, buddy.
How are you, my friend? What is...
I'm good. I was saying when I got cut off there that nobody's really confused that you guys are in Huntington, Virginia, right? I mean, it's hockey night in New York.
Yeah,
no?
where did that come from, Christian?
Well, you said you didn't specify. I want to make sure we...
Did we need to, though?
Yeah.
Disagree.
People
That's
are-
a hard disagree
People
from
are
me.
not bright
Officially.
sometimes.
Wow. All right, well, go on. Go on with the show, Christian. Go ahead.
But B-Comp, nice of you to join us today, although you didn't come in.
Dude, I have things to do. I have to go to Home Depot. I have to go to Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know if I'd have time to come in.
Solid Sunday.
I mean, you can,
Yeah.
you can make a stop from Bed Bath & Beyond to Home Depot. It's right in the neighborhood.
It's a nice little Sunday.
Yeah, well, that sounds terrible. But that's what happens when you're old, I guess. But B-Comp, thank you for joining us. Ton to talk about, obviously. The Islanders making a lot of noise, a lot of moves, a lot of signings. I don't know if you've heard about any of them because we certainly haven't. So maybe you could break us some news. But in all seriousness, what do you think is going on behind the scenes now with all of the quietness while the rest of the league has made a lot of noise with some of these signings and trades in the last week or so?
I would imagine that there's been some obvious signings. I think the fact that Kyle Palmieri and Casey Cizikas have not signed elsewhere tells me that they are staying here. Beyond that, guys, your guess is as good as mine. This is Lou. It's Lou's world. I know fans are, in an uproar that they want to see what's going on here, but this is the way this man operates. And I've said this to you guys before. Until this team falls off a cliff, let the man do what he's doing. That's all.
I mean, it definitely speaks to, I would say, the respect that the rest of the general managers, agents, and everyone in the league have, because basically the entire expansion draft was leaked hours and hours and hours before the television shenanigans that happened on ESPN. But nothing has come from the Islanders. What does that say about Lou Lamoriello and just the career he's had and the respect that he has among the league, that things have stayed so quiet and nothing has leaked at this point, and we are 4 or 5 days past free agency opening?
Yeah, look, he's in the Hall of Fame for a reason, and he has the utmost respect of the other 31 general managers. Again, I know fans want to know what's going on here. Patience is a virtue, right? It's not like the team that is on cap friendly right October. There's going to be moves here. They have to sign a 3 key restricted free agent. Like I said, I think Palmieri and Cizikas are already in the fold, as well as a guy like Zach Parise going to help them, I think, well, on the power play. So we'll see where it goes. It's a long summer, right? There's still a long way to go before opening.
For sure. And Brian, you say, Islander fans should maybe just have a little faith. I mean, hasn't Lou Lamoriello kind of earned that now in his third, not only in his third year with the Islanders, but just his illustrious career as a president and general manager of an NHL franchise? Like, I mean, just because there hasn't been any official announcements, there hasn't been any news or anything like that, doesn't mean the man isn't working hard and making things happen, right? I mean, I guess it wouldn't be Islander Country Isles Twitter if there wasn't an outcry because there's not official statements coming out.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, the fact that we haven't heard that Kyle Palmieri has signed somewhere else, Cizikas has signed somewhere else, I think logic tells you that these two are coming back long term, which is good news because, I know fans are screaming about, I'm sure you're going to ask me about Tarasenko, etc.
Right.
You got to be careful here, guys, right? Like, you don't want to blow anything up because they were 2 goals away from the Cup final and probably winning the whole thing. I think they would have beaten Montreal had they made the finals. So
Me too.
They've got to be careful about what they do with this roster here moving forward. You don't want to take away they've already lost Everly. You don't want to take away too many pieces here.
No, I agree with you, Brian, but I think the most pressing question right now for the Islanders, and thanks to the ease on the chat here, and he wants to know, what do we think the Islanders will do to replace Nick Leddy? And I think that's probably the most important question right now for the Islanders.
Yeah.
No doubt. I think it is the biggest question. And I don't know where they go, guys. I mean, again, if you're going to go and try to get a guy like Vince Dunn from Seattle, that's going to cost you something, I think, off this roster. So I know guys like Beauvillier, his name's been thrown around here again. If it's a tremendous player coming back, I guess you have to do it, but you don't want to do anything too drastic here after the runs that they've had the past 2 years.
Speaking of the defense and considering what you would likely have to give up for defensemen, is there at least one or two players still on the market? Ryan Murray's name has been mentioned a couple times. But in your mind, is there anyone still on the market that wouldn't cost the Islanders too much and could fit that Nick Leddy role at this point?
You know what, guys? I'm glad you brought that up because I feel bad for a guy like Thomas Hickey. Like, why have we just completely forgotten that this guy is still on the team and could contribute? Like, I felt when he went in for that tiny stretch over, I think it was Philly, where he had a huge game. He didn't look out of place, and he had missed a lot of game action, right? So,
right, yeah, that was the first game in like 2 years or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's going to step in and play 22 minutes a night like Nick Leddy did, but I think until he's somewhere else, he's an option for these guys. As far as free agents go, I don't think Zdeno Chara is going to. I mean, what do you 10 points? I mean, he could still play. Don't get me wrong, but. Ryan Murray did not score a goal, if memory serves, the entire season. So it's bare as far as free agents go. And Seany, you and I interacted briefly on Twitter the other day. Calvin DeHaan, I think, can help this hockey team. If that's the route that they have to go, he's not going to produce the way that Nick Leddy did. But he blocks a ton of shots. He can still play 20 minutes. I know he's injury prone. There's a history there. There's no question about that. But I think the Islanders could do worse than Calvin DeHaan if that's the route that they have to take.
Brian, I agree with you, and I guess that's the big debate now, right? If it comes to that, if they don't bring in a guy who I guess we consider quote unquote worthy of replacing Nick Leddy, right? As far as the top four role goes, as far as potentially running a power play, maybe the second unit, whatever the case may be. Let's say it is a Thomas Hickey or a Calvin DeHaan or something like that. Is that going to be enough? Are the Islanders' defensive core going to be able to make up for that production as a group? Maybe you look towards Noah Dobson to step things up and obviously have a bigger role. I mean, we expect that anyway. But is it going to be enough for this team, or are they going to have to go out and bring somebody in from the outside, which is something that I believe?
Yeah, I think it depends on, Noah Dobson is going to see more time on the power play. There's no doubt about that. I mean, as of now, he's the guy replacing Leddy. On one unit, and then you have Pollock on the other. They still have weapons to run these power plays. And as far as the rest of the blue line goes, Seany, unless they get a guy like Tarasenko who can, contribute offensively to kind of, mitigate what they're losing on defense, it's going to be tough. But like I said, there's a long way to go before opening night, and you have to trust this front office because they've earned it.
Talking with Brian Compton on the line, brought to you by our friends over at Tide Technology. Brian, internally, obviously, the Islanders have Sebastian Aho. You mentioned Thomas Hickey. There's a couple, Samuel Bolduc is an option there down in Bridgeport. Is there anyone internally outside of Hickey that could fill that role as well? Sebastian Aho is usually the first one that comes to mind because he's been with the organization the longest, and he's had pretty good success down in the AHL. Could you see him being an option for the Islanders?
As of now, I think he has to be. If nothing changes here, Aho has to get a legitimate crack to make this team and contribute. He's still here, and as long as he's still here, he has to be an option if they don't make a move. And I still think they're going to. They're going to figure this out, I think, when push comes to shove. But, Aho's kind of in the same boat as Hickey Christian. He barely played. Also, he was with the team all year. Other than warm-ups, you never saw the guy really.
That's right.
Like when Dobson was on the COVID.
That's
list,
right.
so,
yep.
It's going to be tough, but yeah, as long as he's still here, and he's one of those guys who can certainly contribute offensively. If he's not going to get a crack this coming season, fellas, I don't think it's coming, at least in New York.
I mean, it just doesn't seem like that opportunity is coming from him. Even, it wasn't. It was 2 years ago, but he got 22, 24 games or something like that at the NHL level.
Yeah.
And even after that, he played pretty well, and the opportunity just doesn't seem to come from him.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe he's somebody who needs a fresh start somewhere else. If not, I think he's waiver eligible. He could certainly get plucked in October. We'll see how that goes. But if he clears, it's going to be probably Bridgeport for him again. We'll see.
We're talking to Brian Compton of NHL.com on the line, brought to you by Tide Technology, here live at the Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike.
Conveniently located near a Home Depot and a Bed Bath & Beyond, from my understanding.
As it turns out, yes, that's right. So, Brian, you alluded to us talking about
I'm so funny.
Terrace. You're so funny sometimes, but
funny.
usually not. So, you alluded to talking about Tarasenko. Let's do it. Well, let's see. You have out in the Twitterverse that maybe the Islanders are in talks. I mean, we don't know. We don't know because, like you said, Lou, everything is underneath the trap door, right? We don't know what Lou's doing unless he tells us. So maybe they're looking into Tarasenko. Maybe not. Maybe the roster's already set aside from that D. I personally think they are. I don't think they're going to bring in any more forwards. Maybe some depth, something like that. But honestly, with Palmieri coming back, Parise coming in, and apparently Zajac, which seems to be the word, I think they're done. But that being said, Vlad Tarasenko, do you think there's a shot that the Islanders might be going for him? If they do, what are they going to have to give up to get him?
Yeah, I think they're still very much in the mix, Shawnee. That's just my gut feeling, especially when they were as close as they were. They got shut out twice, against Tampa, games 5 and 7. They need a little bit more offensive punch. But having said that, Wahlstrom didn't play right, and if you bring in a guy like Tarasenko, you're sliding Wahlstrom down the depth chart. Doesn't the fan base want to see this kid contribute the way that they think that he can? I know fans are screaming about a sniper. I think Wahlstrom could be that guy. To be honest, he has that release. It's elite. I think so. And the question is, if you get him, who's going in that deal? I have to believe one of Beauvillier or Bailey is going in that trade. And again, I go back to what I was saying earlier about you got to be careful here. They were so close. And if you're going to break that core up, not completely, but, I mean, Josh Bailey's been here forever. He's an alternate captain, and he's going to play, between 1,300 and 1,500 games when all is said and done in the National Hockey League. So, we'll see how it goes, but yeah, I still think they're in the mix for Tarasenko. We'll see how it plays out.
Just to play devil's advocate here, I mean, I've said before, I'm not a fan of bringing in Tarasenko if it's going to cost them an arm and a leg,
right?
And kind of to your point, disrupt kind of the chemistry and the flow that they've had. But let's play devil's advocate here, and I will counter that point with the idea of bringing in someone of Tarasenko's skill set. I mean, the guy is a 30-plus goal scorer. 5 of his 9 years in the NHL, and you can kind of throw away the last 2 because obviously he's been dealing with the surgeries and the injuries to his shoulder. But wouldn't that make the Islanders automatically a better team if you have Tarasenko on your top line? You're able to fill that second line void if you lose. You're going to lose probably Bo in that trade, let's say. You move Wahlstrom up. You have Parise and Zajac as your third line with Parise and Palmieri as your third line. With Pajot in the middle. That sounds like a better team than that was in the Eastern Conference Finals last year.
Agreed. At least offensively. There's no doubt that they would be a much better offensive hockey team, Christian. On the flip side, we all know what this coach is all about, keeping the puck in your own net. So, look, Tarasenko has won a cup. He was dynamite for the Blues in the playoffs when they won the whole thing. So he's been there before. You can never have enough cup winners in your locker room. Again, I want to see who is in this trade going to St. Louis because it would be really, really, for me, it would be really, really difficult to see a guy like Josh Bailey go somewhere else.
Yeah, no question about it. But, I mean, I was going to pivot somewhere else, but now that you mentioned that about Bailey, I mean, look, I wasn't around for it. I think the three of us pretty much didn't know what was going on back then or were alive. But, I mean, when your team is at this point, though, right? And you have a GM like Lou Lamoriello or Bill Torrey, and you're trying to get over the hump to get to that next step to win a Stanley Cup, and you have your fan favorites. I mean, isn't that kind of what Bill Torrey dealt with back then, dealing for Butch Goring, right? He had to make some tough calls. He ends up making that deal, and we know what the rest of what the next 4 years were. But maybe that's kind of a position that Lou Lamoriello's in, and as much as Josh Bailey, is funny to say this now, but beloved by this franchise because of the tenure that he's put in. I know that I may not be speaking for everybody there, but
I don't think you.
No, I don't think I am. But that being said, the tenure he's put in, obviously, as far as a modern day Islander goes, I mean, he's Mr. Islander, right? Him, Matt Martin, kind of, right? So to see a guy like him go, the kind of contributions he's put into this team over the past, some odd years, I mean, is that just something you bite the bullet and say, hey, look, I'm trying to make this team better to win a Stanley Cup?
Yeah, look, it happens. You're right. I think of a guy like Dave Lewis, who was with the Islanders from day one and got traded a couple of months before they won the Cup. I mean, that's tough, right? Especially with the way things went for them in '79 against the Rangers. So you're right. I mean, look, it's a business. At the end of the day, you're trying to make your hockey team better. I go back to you just got to trust Lou Lamoriello. He's earned it. If that's the deal, it's hard to argue with Lou. So we'll see how it plays out. But I would really feel for Josh Bailey if the Islanders go on to win the Cup and he's somewhere else. That would be really tough for him to swallow, I would think.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. But, I mean, again, like you said, it's a business. But I guess my last thing on Tarasenko is, do we have confidence that his shoulder's going to hold up? I mean, we're talking about what he can do if he's healthy and what he might bring to this team. But something everybody's got to keep in mind is he even going to be able to perform at the level that he has in the past, given his injury history?
Yeah, well, I would imagine that they're going to look at all the paperwork before making a transaction like that, because it's going to be, a key player going back in that deal, and they're not going to make that trade if they don't think Tarasenko can live up to whatever he's been dealing with in the past with his shoulder, et cetera. So you just got to hope that he would be okay. I mean, if the paperwork says that he's going to be all right, we know what he can bring when he is healthy. They need a boost. There's no doubt about that. He could help them if he's healthy. If not, Lou's obviously going to get creamed by the fan base. We know that.
Yes.
This is On the Line, brought to you by our friends at Tie Technology. And on the line with us is a man from the National Hockey League website. No, it's not Dan Rosen. No, it's not Mike Moriali. They both are busy, so we had to settle with Brian Compton, who's joining us right now.
Wow.
Just brutal.
I got a lot.
Christian,
was
there's
not thinking of any questions to ask Brian. I was thinking of insults.
You were delaying.
I know. I was thinking of insults.
No, there's nothing worse, though, and I'm going to put you on the spot, Christian.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse, though. I think the first time we had Brian on, or just referencing him since you joined the show. Brian, what did he call you? Because I'm sure you remember. No, say that again, because you came.
You got to stop talking, and then he can talk. It's Skype.
He called me a trash person.
Yes.
Wow.
I was upset that he got a sandwich.
That
named
deserves
after him.
the pause
really
that it got. I mean, how on earth do you call? I mean, that's terrible. He's a good guy.
He's all right.
Jeez.
I mean, look, if this hockey writing thing doesn't work out, Christian can write for Hallmark. That going for him.
Sorry, go ahead, Christian.
Suck.
You still don't have a question, do you?
No. I have a question. I was waiting for Brian to finish his thought. I was trying to be nice for 2 seconds. But B-Comp, it wouldn't be NHL. It wouldn't be Hockey Night in New York. I mean, we have to talk about the Buffalo Sabres for a second here and the Jack Eichel thing that has gone just off the rails the last week and a half between the delusional nature of Buffalo's general manager and then obviously Eichel and his agent's response to everything. What do you make of this? And the idea of them not trading Jack Eichel before the season starts, how is that even fathomable at this point?
Yeah, it's not. They've got to figure this out. I can't imagine what that would be like. They want a training camp if he's still with this hockey team. That's just going to be a nightmare. So this has been ugly, right? I mean, the last few weeks in particular have been really, really ugly. So we'll see how it goes. The Sabres have had a lot of work to do here over the last 3. I mean, they haven't made the playoffs in a decade, but these past couple in particular have just been a complete nightmare. And where's he going to go? I mean, I bring this up with my Ranger fan friends. Like, do you want to trade a kid like Condre Miller for Jack Eichel?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
I wouldn't do it. I know he's a terrific player. I get it. But Miller's going to be a stud on that blue line for years. It's tough, man. And with, cap space running out for a lot of teams, I just don't know where he's going to end up. But if he is still in Buffalo in October, my goodness, we'll see.
Yeah, it is just a wild situation with the Sabres. And obviously, I think Ranger fans kind of expected him to be in red, white, and blue a while ago, and nothing has seemed to pan out there. But Becom, also, before we do let you go, today is the 10-year anniversary of the arena referendum vote. Believe it or not, it's been 10 years since we were standing in the downstairs portion of Nassau Coliseum waiting for Ed Mangano, Charles Wong, and a slew of other Nassau County politicians that were vying for this. If you will indulge me, just tell me what you remember about that day and that the whole odyssey that was that bizarre referendum.
I was actually in Montauk. It was the start of my yearly vacation in Montauk. That was like the first or second day of that trip. I was on Twitter the whole day, just scrolling to see what was going on. I can't believe it's been 10 years. It's hard to believe. But just to be in the position that they're in now, after all the nonsense that this fan base has endured for the last 25 years, really. I mean, I remember my dad telling me in the 80s was when they first started talking about either upgrading the Coliseum or building a new one next door. It's great to see that they're finally in a position to have. They might have the best building in the NHL in November, guys.
What a world!
It's crazy to think about. I can't wait to see what that whole project's going to look like when it's done. That's still a couple of years down the road, but the trips that I've made to UBS, it's pretty easy to tell that it's going to be an amazing, amazing spot. Good for them.
Yeah, Brian, I can't wait. And we got just a couple of rapid-fire questions for you from the chat, if you'll indulge us.
Sure.
Mike4652Co wants to know, what's the reason behind loose secrecy? And then following that up, Tboyle_13 wants to know, is Beauvillier going to be on the Islanders opening night roster?
That's a good one. I don't really have an answer to the first one. It's just the way that the man operates. Yeah. I don't think he wants cap numbers to get out to agents because he's just trying to. I mean, Adam Pelech, guys. If you look at the numbers that have been thrown around these past few weeks, Adam Pelech is what, $6 million, probably, give or take. So Sorokin's probably going to get 3.5 to 4. I would think there's a lot of work to do here, and I think he's just trying to keep the cap numbers under wrap more than anything else, so he can just get everything done next month or so. So I think that's for that, and then I think they're going to get Tarasenko. So I think Beauvillier is.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Wow. I mean, I kind of agree with Brian here, just because all the signs point to the weirdness that St. Louis was one of the only teams not to announce any signings for a while, and then they go out and they get Brandon Saad, and everything is starting to line up to look like the Islanders have a chance. It makes a lot of sense, and it would make a lot of sense of why there's been so much secrecy as well surrounding other signings that the Islanders have. At this point, everyone knows are basically done in Parisi and Palmieri. And, I mean, heck, they haven't even announced Andy Green's contract, which happened.
Right.
I mean, it's filed with the league. Brian can walk down from his office and ask Gary Bettman himself. It's in there.
That is not going to happen.
Brian, could you do that for us, Brian? Could you TikTok that for us?
Just me, Gary. Just one question for you. Slams it. Yeah.
But Brian, we would be remiss if we didn't leave you on this note, and that is our random question for every guest. As you know, we've done this with you before. If you don't remember, for those who are just joining us for the first time, we ask our guest a random question. For instance, for the first time around, Brian Compton was asked about his favorite Kiss song. Andrew Gross was asked about, what did we ask Andrew? I forget.
What did we ask Andrew? That's a good question. I know we asked Molly about her favorite chicken fingers, right?
Yeah,
her favorite press box food?
Yeah, that was it.
Right? Yeah. We asked Dan Rosen about the hot dogs for you.
We asked Dan Rosen about the hot dogs.
You and your obnoxious hot dog habits. But, yeah, I don't remember what we asked Andrew Gross.
But, Brian, since we have you, we will ask you another random question. And I feel like now it's not random because I just thought of this. And it is, why is it that I'm not allowed to have ketchup on a hot dog? Why does it have to be mustard?
Because on your birth certificate it says you're older than 7 years old.
That was pretty good, Brian. That's pretty good. Christian enjoyed that. Christian, here we go. So, Brian, I mean, look, I don't know if you watch the show at all or, how often you do, but we're good for, one just, laugh along a week with Christian where he just flies off the rails and he can't control himself.
I like that one. That was funny.
You came back, though.
Yeah, no, it was a good joke.
Thank you, bud.
Brian's funny every once in a while.
I really kidding, but if you want to take it as a joke, that's up to you.
Do you like Air Supply? Because Mike4652 Co wants to know what your favorite Air Supply song is.
I couldn't even name you one.
I couldn't either. Well, Brian, on that high note, we're gonna let you go. But
right,
buddy, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us here on your Sunday afternoon, and we hope to talk to you soon, man. Take care.
Anytime, boys. Thanks for having me. Take care.
Thanks a lot, brother.
Brian Compton from NHL.com. Obviously, along with the rest of us, still waiting for any sort of news to happen with the New York Islanders because...
Hey, we've made it 40 minutes.
Yeah.
We've made it 40 minutes with no official news, so I think we're doing all right. And
yeah.
the train rolls on.
I thought you meant like, we were expecting some sort of bizarre news to break in the middle.
No,
So-
I'm saying we made a 40-minute show out of no news from the Islanders in a week, other than just the whispers going on behind the scenes.
Well, there has been some Islander news. Atu Ratti playing in
Yes.
the World Junior
Let's talk
Showcase
about that guy.
in Michigan. Having a phenomenal tournament. My internet went down for a second, so I don't hit,
no.
the numbers were there. I have to bring it back
Christian's
up. But
nothing without his internet connection.
He had a phenomenal tournament, and I've actually been messaging back and forth with Chris Peters, the esteemed NHL prospect expert.
Whom we've had on the show.
We've had on the show.
Yes.
Worked for ESPN. He runs a great site now for himself as well. I want to make sure I get it right. It is hockeysense.substack.com, where you can subscribe and keep track of all the prospect news going on in the NHL. He does a phenomenal job everywhere he's been. But been messaging back and forth about Ratte because I've been curious. He's up there in Michigan. He's been watching all these games. He's seen him in person. Certainly a great start. He's tempering some expectations a little bit because obviously it's summer hockey. But certainly says it's exactly what you'd want to see. It's a good statement to make after the year he had in the Finnish league where he struggled a bit.
Yeah, 14 points in 6 games, and in this interesting World Junior Showcase. Now
you found it?
Well, actually, Mike4652 Co has been carrying the show for us today, and he pointed out in the chat. I'm going to trust him. 14 points in 6 games.
Should we just hire Mike as a producer?
Listen,
I feel like he's doing all the duties of a producer right
look,
now.
we're going to have summer meetings, right? We got to get ready for next season. So, I mean, look, if you want to throw your hat into the ring here, we might have to hire some staff.
We didn't even have exit meetings.
That's true. We still have to give you your review, Christian.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
I'm sure it'll go terrible.
But it probably will. But under the assumption
guy can't keep a straight
that
face, mean to the guests.
Yeah, and calling people trash.
Calling
that is
people
just
trash.
awful. But anyway, what's the proper pronunciation of this man's name?
No
Do we
idea.
know? No idea. So you're just winging it
I'm
with
winging
Ratte.
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta say it confidently, and people believe you.
Okay,
Like
so
if I just
was
said,
thinking
I just said his name is Otto Ratti, and didn't even blink an eye.
I would have went with Otto Ratti.
See, but I said it.
But
so
then you have like the
confidently.
umlaut over the A, like so who knows?
no, it gets really
how it's
confusing.
pronounced. I mean, the Finns have some very special names, right?
Yes.
A lot of vowels, right? Yanni Niinema,
Best
one
of
of my
luck
favorites.
to Brendan Burke and Butch Coring if
Best luck to
and
Butch
when he
Coring.
does make it to the National Hockey League, and Butch has got to talk
Well,
about him.
if he keeps
and Brendan,
if he keeps playing at this rate, he is going to the National Hockey League. But again, how much stock do you put into a showcase, right? Like
but that's the point. Yeah,
it's not a tournament. I mean, look, these kids, if they're smart, which we'll assume that they are, they're vying for jobs in the future, right? They want to
100%.
get noticed. They want to make sure that they're at their best because who knows who's watching. These kids, either they've been drafted, they want to be drafted, or they want to get to training camp and break, the collective rosters of whoever they're going to, right?
Listen, it certainly helps his case too. After, like we were talking about, the rough season he had in the Finnish Pro League. What better way to showcase that you still have it? I mean, this is a guy that was essentially, at one point, a top 10 pick in the National Hockey League draft.
I
The
saw somewhere
expectation-
apparently he was the number 1 at one point.
Yes. So think about it. The Islanders got him at 52. They didn't have to do anything day one, and they still got potentially a first-round level prospect on the second day. So if the Islanders, if he turns out to be a steal for the Islanders, I mean, that's a heck of a job and certainly very interesting. But what a better way to make a statement that, hey, my game is still there and I can still play at the level that I was expected to by going out and starting off your new career with your new organization by doing it at a junior showcase.
No, Christian, he's got me paying attention now. Because, look, I mean, I never heard of anybody going into the draft as far as the kids. I didn't do any research going into this draft, and why would you when they don't have a first-round pick? But I had no idea. But And the Islanders made their pick that day, and I read and saw a little bit about him, the fact that he used to be the consensus number one, whenever that was, a top 10 first rounder, and he dropped for whatever reason. You say, okay, well, who knows what this guy's going to be, but then all these numbers start coming out in the showcase, and now, he has my attention.
4 goals in day one, that's
very
a
exciting.
heck of a way to start.
I mean, look, we obviously have to see more out of him.
Well, no, the biggest thing, yes, we will.
Right.
What I was going to say, though, is it's the biggest test will be how he plays in the fall back in Finland when he's playing with his pro team again.
Right.
Carpot.
Yeah, we got to see. Look, I mean, 6 games in a showcase is nice. Let's see what else he can do, through, leading up to when he actually ends up in an Islander training camp. But look, you can't start any better than he did.
No, not at all. That's
but it is
a good first
interesting
impression.
How this almost draft reclamation project theme of the Islanders is carried over into Lou Lamoriello, where you look at what Kabanov, right?
Oh,
Kirill Kabanov, Joshua Hosang,
Right.
and then I guess even to a degree, I think was it Robin Salo, I think who was projected to go a little earlier than he did, and then the Islanders
and he's
ended up
having
taking him.
he's had a pretty decent.
Right, wasn't it him
run
who
so
had
far.
injuries? It was either Salo or the other, Norland kid that they picked up. He was a forward though. You know what I'm talking? Who's the winger that they picked up in one of the last?
Well,
recent
maybe
drafts?
someone in the chat will remember.
But you understand what I'm talking. There was a kid. I think it was Salo. He
Mike
had some injuries.
4652 co. What's the information?
Right,
Answer
right. He's
Sean's
been
question.
on top of it for us, right? But it wasn't Salo. It was somebody else. But either way,
It wasn't Salo. It
it
was someone
seems
else.
like the Islanders like their picks that fall out of the first round.
Yeah.
And they have that talent. They give them a shot. So hopefully this is the one that actually pans out, because Kabanov and Hosang obviously didn't. So we'll see where this one goes. I have a lot more hope for this guy.
I'll never
than the
forget
previous
Kirill
guys.
Kabanov going to the NHL.
Holmstrom.
Simon
Simone-
Holmstrom.
Yeah.
Simon
So it was
Holmstrom.
either Holmstrom or Salo. Thank you, Mike. Please put your resume in. We'll talk to you over the summer.
Honestly, the guy should probably be our producer.
He's picking up. And T-Boyle, too, with the drop in the news. Marc-Andre Fleury will report to camp and play for Chicago.
I think that was reported yesterday, actually. I know Pagnotta just put it out, but Barstool Sports Chicago actually was the first place to break that story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So credit where credit's due. Barstool Sports Chicago had that yesterday morning, I believe, actually. So
Okay. We'll still give T-Boyle some credit, too.
no. I'm just staying on top of everything.
And for the record, he actually did call Andrew Ladd to the Coyotes. He did. He messaged us. I forgot about this. He actually called it before it happened. He's like Andrew Ladd is going to get done with the Coyotes. So plenty of credit to T-Boyle
All right.
13.
So then my half-hearted
It's got to go full heart.
congratulations from last week is now a full-hearted
Full heart.
tip of the hat.
There you go. But yeah, I'm excited about this kid. I am. Ratatouille, Rat Pack, whatever his name is going to be. But wouldn't it be nice for that hidden gem in the later rounds to finally kind of be an Islander, right? You look at the Datsuks of the world and stuff like that. It'd be nice, especially given the fact that the Islanders have had to deal some first-round picks because of the situation they've been in. Look, because they're one of the top teams in the NHL. That's right, folks. The Islanders are one of the top teams in the NHL, and that's what they do.
Also, the Islanders are one of the model franchises in the New York metropolitan area now, when you think about
That's
it.
right. Oh, it sounds
Because-
like music, Christian.
I forget which Jet player, but one of them was talking to reporters earlier this week. I forget who. Might have been one of the linemen from Long Island, actually. And I don't know if he was asked about it or if he kind of just maneuvered into it, but he did mention the Islanders and the way Lou Lamoriello runs the team and their success as a model of the way the Jets should, operate going forward.
Yes,
Which is a fascinating turn of events when you think about where the Islanders were. I mean, we mentioned where they were 10 years ago, just trying to get a new arena on Long Island, but think about where they were 5 years ago.
Chris,
sorry, I keep cutting you off, but there's more to my point,
it's okay.
Shawnee.
It's all right.
My phone, you know how if you have an iPhone, it gives you like those random memories sometimes, like when you go to the lock screen.
Do you have any good memories?
What I was gonna say was that one of them popped up was the day that Garth Snow, Doug Waite, and John Ledecky held that bizarro press conference after Ledecky and Malkin's first year of ownership.
That
with the
wasn't
Islanders.
confidence-inspiring for another country.
That was bizarro world. I will never forget being there, being like, what in the world is going on?
Yeah.
But that picture popped up the other day. So even think about where the Islanders were then. That picture is now 4 years old. think 3 years old, 3 years, 4 years. Regardless, think about how far they've come in the last 3 years. It's insane.
Christian, it took decades, but the New York Islander franchise has finally come full circle.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Well, almost.
Where, look, obviously cups withstanding, but they were a model franchise in the 1980s. They were the franchise that every team in this league looked up to. There was, 24 back then? But they were the model franchise. They were a dynasty. And they set the standard for the rest of the league. Now, I'm not saying that
Wait a
that's...
minute. They won cups in 80?
4 of them.
Wow.
In a row.
Didn't know that.
A dynasty.
And
Now I'm ready to go off on a tangent, Christian, because you just reminded me like a week or two ago. No, whatever. After... I'm going to have to do it.
Do it.
After the Tampa Bay Lightning...
We have time to fill.
That's true, actually. That's true. So let me have this moment here. I want to talk to you guys in the chat. I want to talk to anybody that's listening here. What constitutes a dynasty in sports? More specifically, hockey, because I don't care about any other sport.
Three cups in a row, right?
I'm with you. 3's fine.
Right.
The three-peat is fine.
Right.
But
that's a dynasty, to me anyway.
Now, maybe I shouldn't have cared as much as I did, but I was beside myself after the Tampa Bay Lightning won their Stanley Cup.
I know where this is going.
And it was 2, Christian, 2 in a row. And you have verified journalists covering this sport saying, oh, well, the Tampa Bay Lightning, modern-day dynasty, 2 Stanley Cups in a row, and they were really good before that, going to the Final Four.
Well, they did that with Chicago,
the
too, when they won 3 out of 4, or 3 out of 4 years or
it was
something
like 3
that,
out of 5.
Yeah. 3 out of 5, that was it.
That's not a dynasty. But, like, I had a problem with it back then, calling the Blackhawks a dynasty 3 out of 5, and now you have pundits saying that 2 cups in a row are a dynasty. Are you out of your mind?
It's so rare. Well, that's why they use the term modern dynasty, because it's such a rare feat at this point for teams to win back-to-back years, or even in 2 or 3 years.
No matter what era it is, the definition of the word dynasty doesn't change. It's okay if there's no more dynasties anymore. Now, if Tampa Bay goes back and wins the Cup again this year, which they're not going to do, but if they do it,
I don't know.
I'm happy to jump on that bandwagon and say 3's enough. 3 is a dynasty. But 2 in a row,
how does Webster
define
dynasty?
Go check it out.
I'm going to look this up.
Go check it out. But that's more in when they talk about dynasties in the dictionary definition, it's more like, the Roman dynasty or something like that. It's more in historical
Listen, there's a lot of weird stuff in
the
the dictionary now.
Anyway,
so who knows?
Dynasty. Just to get back on the tracks here, Webster's 2 cups in a row is not a dynasty. 2 cups in a row is not. I don't care how many times you went to the conference final or the Stanley Cup final. You have to win more than 2 to be a dynasty. But everybody's moving the goalposts here. And so I had a short back and forth. It was Myrtle up in Canada. He said it. He said, oh, we got to talk about Tampa Bay being a dynasty. It's like, no, you can't. He's like, oh, well, modern day. I was like, so you mean to tell me in 30, 40 years when there's 40 teams in the league that 1 cup is going to be enough for a dynasty? I mean, when does it stop? Like, if we don't have any more dynasties, it's fine. We had them back in the 80s. You had the Canadians, you had the Oilers, you had the Islanders. But no more.
I've looked up dynasty in the Webster's dictionary. And here's the Webster's definition of the word dynasty: a succession of rulers of the same line of descent, or a powerful group of family that maintains its position for a considerable time. But there's also sort of an annotation there where it says sports dynasty. So
here we go.
So dynasty has been in use in English for over 600 years, for most of that time referring to ruling families, blah, blah, blah. Around the beginning of the 19th century, the word developed the figurative sense of a group or a family that dominates a particular field for generations. Nowadays, this sense of dynasty often appears to sports franchises, which has a prolonged run of successful seasons. The sport's use appears to have begun in the early 20th century. An article in the Washington Post in 1905 refers to the John T. Brush's baseball dynasty. Baseball is another sport, just in case you haven't heard of it, Sean.
Yeah.
And by 1912, the St. Louis Dispatch reported that if players were free agents at the end of every 2 years, baseball dynasties such as those built up by the Cubs, Athletics, Detroit, and Giants would not be possible. So dynasty in that sense seems to refer to 2 years.
Well, they're wrong.
I mean, I think you're wrong for...
No.
for
No,
adapting
I'm sorry.
it to your own.
I refuse to accept that. Anything less than 3 years is not a dynasty. That's how I mean.
I think
this isn't even Islander bias. Even if the Islanders didn't win 4 cups in a row, it has nothing to do with the Islanders.
No, I don't think it's Islander bias at all.
It's just not enough. 2 is not enough.
But all right, I don't passionately agree or disagree enough to care. But I guess I would say to counter that, just for the sake of argument, would be in a modern sense. It seems to actually fit the definition lined out by its original term when it was started to be used in sports
2 years.
references.
2 years for me isn't dominance. 2 years is nice.
Right, but how many teams win back-to-back years in any sport?
But see, that's the thing, though. Like it's a feat, and it's to be respected, and it's to be noted and admired. Yeah. But you still don't have to tie that word to it. You don't have to call it a dynasty just because it doesn't happen often. Like it's a dynasty when it's a dynasty. That's my 8 cents.
Much like
on it.
Hockey Night in New York's reign over the Islander podcast game.
Wow, now that's a dynasty that I can sign up for. Wow. How did we fit in here? How did we fit through the door? Mm-hmm. So
and I thought I was.
I appreciate everybody indulging me in that, but it's obviously something I needed to get off my chest.
You know what? I feel like you kind of revved up to it a couple shows ago, and I feel like I stopped you.
You have a tendency to cut me off, before I can finish thoughts. So
same to you.
So thanks for finally coming around, and I see some agreement in there. Some I think T. Boyle said 2, which is disappointing to me. Tom, come on. It's more than 2 years. But I got Mike on board. I got the E's on board. So 2 out of 3, as Meatloaf said, ain't bad. So I'm going to go with that. I think I win here.
Listen, Tampa Bay having a great couple of years between them, the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are a football team, by the way.
Yeah. One of my favorite names of his sports team, actually.
I feel like
I like the
Buccaneers. Did the Rays win a World Series recently? I don't know. I don't follow baseball, but
I don't blame you.
But yeah, Tampa Bay, great city. Great city.
A lot going on down there.
A lot of good sports teams.
Yeah. So to reel it back in, that was I'm surprised you even remember. That was a sidetrack from talking about the Islander franchise coming full circle here, and actually being one of the premier franchises now in the NHL.
Yeah.
They are a model. And look, you go to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years in a row, and I mean, they're bringing back either the same or a very similar roster next year. That's still a work in progress.
Right.
Lou will tell us in about January when the deals are done and all that's completed. But look, it's high times to be an Islander fan. You got the new arena coming in November, and we'll talk about that. We missed that last week, talking about the schedule and the road trip and all that.
Well, UBS Arena had another milestone, I guess you would call it, is they completed the full UBS Arena sign on the front of the building. That was installed.
That's important.
We saw that tweeted out, and I'm sure I didn't look at the replies to that tweet, but I'm sure about 1 million replies about what's Lou Lamoriello doing.
Right.
Because that's how people operate.
Yes, correct.
But so a big milestone there, and certainly for the Islanders, they're looking forward to getting into that building, but it won't be for at least a month. They've given themselves enough wiggle room with the construction and making sure everything is completed, but they have a 13-game road trip to start the season, an NHL record for the longest road trip in league history, or league history, or the longest road trip to start the season.
I believe it's both.
Well, both.
If I remember right, and Mike probably knows, he can correct me, but I believe previously the Vancouver Canucks had the longest road trip, not to start a season, just generally speaking, and it was at 11.
Right. Oh, okay.
I believe it was 11. So now the Islanders, 13 games to start a season on the road. Hey, it's the Angeloras. What's going on? Family friends here saying hello. They walked in. What's going on, guys? Nice to see you. What's up, buddy? So, Christian,
there's a tiny child over there.
Yes, there is.
In case anyone's wondering what Sean is saying hi to. It's a small human. What were you saying?
We're talking about the Islanders breaking the record for the longest road trip.
It'll be tough because, too, you have the Islanders are a team that has historically, the last couple of years, at least under Barry Trotz, and even under Doug Waite, they're a team that builds up those points early in the season and then really banks them, especially when things start to get a little tight there at the end when they're struggling a little bit at the end of the year. It's happened 2 years in a row now. So the beginning of the year now becomes extremely important for the Islanders, even more so now starting 13 games on the road.
Yeah, for sure. And you look at that, and that's going to really set a tone for what kind of season they may have. And I guess you look at any road trip, and maybe you come out 500, and you're okay. You get 13 road games out of the gate, and you come back around 500, spend a lot of time at home, you make up for the games that you lost, and then they're probably doing all right. And what's interesting is they're not even doing the Cali trip out there. They're not doing the Western Canada thing yet either.
Which is interesting.
You would think they would get that out of the way.
Well, you know what? I haven't looked at the rest of the schedules to compare, but would you imagine perhaps the league was being cautious with the situation with everything else going on in the world, that they didn't want to risk saying, all right, teams are going to cross the border, and then September, October rolls around, and there's restrictions, and you can't do it or whatever, and they have to adjust the schedule then. So at least again, I'm kind of just speculating there.
Sure.
I haven't looked at all 32 schedules, but, I mean, Seattle starts by playing Vancouver, I think, at home this season. So,
okay.
but it is interesting. I'm curious if that had anything to do with it.
You know what, Christian? That's a decent thought. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they have to take all that stuff into account. And obviously, they make multiple versions of the schedule. We know that they have one that takes the Olympics into account. They have one that doesn't. If the NHL players are going to head out there. Right now, they're preparing as if they are, so they have that break in
Mike
February.
Sullivan, the Pittsburgh Penguins head coach, is the head coach of Team USA.
Yeah, so I guess they got to shut down either way,
So
or operate without him.
So I would imagine that that's another sign that this is going to happen. I think all signs are pointing to them playing the Olympics.
Good, I'm glad.
Listen, I think it's good. I could care less if they don't. The argument's always been that the Olympics does such a great deal for raising the profile of the game, and I have always called hogwash on that because there's no evidence that anyone has been able to show me that backs that up other than pure speculation and kind of NBC and the networks using that as a talking point to convince the league to shut down for 2 weeks. If I'm an owner, I don't want my guys going to the Olympics. Look, I get it. You have national pride and you want to compete for your country.
Well, you remember what happened in number 91.
Yeah.
Right? A long time. John Tavares got hurt.
Yeah. Oh, that 91. Sorry. I forgot he existed.
Good on you, Christian. Island Country thanks you for that.
But that's a great point too. Like Garth Snow. I remember that injury now, where Garth Snow comes out later, puts out the statement that says to Newsday at the time that he's upset because the best player is now lost and the season was a loss. I mean, the season was lost well before John Tavares went down that year. But that's a great example. If I'm an owner, I get it. You want to play for your country? Don't sign my contract then. Then don't be on my team. You signed a contract when we're paying you a ton of money to play for this team. Oh, well.
I understand that point, but look, if I'm a player, I want to play.
Great, then don't sign
in the
contract.
Olympics and the best of the best. Well, we don't have to mince. We don't have to really dive into this. But obviously, you have your side. I have my side. But like I think that look, as an owner, I would say, look, I understand you want to get out there and play in the tournament, so go ahead and do it. But there's an argument for both sides, so I get that. But it looks like we're gonna have that break for the Olympics, and somehow even after opening the season with 13 games on the road later in the year, I think it's in March if I'm not mistaken, they have a 7-game road event. So that means they play a hell of a lot of games at home after they start on the road, and then somehow they still have a long 7-game road trip later in the season.
It definitely is a tough schedule. It's a tough schedule for everybody. I think Lou Lamoriello put it pretty succinctly. He said everyone has a tough schedule this year. The Islanders have a tougher one, though.
Yeah, probably the toughest of them all.
I think that's a great way of putting it because it's accurate. The Islanders have a very tough schedule, and in opening with 13 games on the road, they don't get to come back at home until the 21st against Calgary to open up the UBS Arena. They get 4 in a row before going back on the road, quote unquote, because they play Philadelphia and the Rangers for their two road games after their 4 home games finally in November. And then, as you pointed out, I'm trying to go through the schedule really quick here, but yes, as you pointed out, Sean, they have a 7-game road trip.
There you go.
Beginning of April. They start April 1st on the road against the Rangers. They play the Devils, Dallas, Carolina, St. Louis, Pittsburgh, Montreal.
There you have it. So, a lot of road games, and that's going to be part of this 82-game slug that the Islanders are going to have to go through to try to get back to the dance and ultimately deep into the playoffs. But, Christian, what do you say we do the Hero of the Week, pal? I think it's about time.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to press some buttons, then we're going to do it. That one.
That one.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you hear this song, that means it's time for the Hero of the Week, brought to you by the Blue Line Deli and Bagels Half Price Hero, which we are happy to be at right now. Fantastic location here at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington. And so the Hero of the Week is the Hockey Night in New York, featuring grilled chicken, buffalo sauce, mozzarella cheese, and avocado in a wrap. Get it for half price starting today through next week. Just mentioned the Hockey Night in New York podcast here at the Blue Line Deli and Bagels, and get it for half price. Great deal.
Yeah.
Great deal.
Yeah.
So without
Agreed.
further ado, Christian, a lot happened in Island Country as we discussed this past week, but we got to name a hero, pal. So what do you got, man? What do you got?
We had to pick a hero?
Yeah, we did. Because this is a segment we do every week.
Oh, that's better.
Right. You want to just, do you know where the buttons are? You want to just press them?
Oh, that's right. My hero is Lou Lamoriello for his...
There you go. You got it.
his...
We're just going to keep it the same.
This one? Oh, this one.
That one. There you go. You can press mine, too.
For his...
Yeah, we didn't change it.
Almost... Nope, that's the wrong one. That's Sparky.
I'm giving him credit.
Well, I mean, his almost mob-like control of information. I mean, it's pretty impressive. Again, as Tom Gallitti rightfully pointed out, and I retweeted, and Sean had a very funny quip yesterday from that tweet. I forget what it was, but it was funny. That, I mean, the entire NHL couldn't keep a lid on the expansion draft, but somehow Lou Lamoriello has managed to keep every move he's made under wraps for over...
it's impressive.
For 7 days. Or not 7 days, but 5 days.
Yeah. Look, the man is the international man of mystery as far as the NHL goes. Somehow he manages to not only keep his staff quiet.
Oh, you know what? That
What?
would have been a good hero of the week, too.
What's that?
Katie Ledecky.
Katie Ledecky. Yeah, sure. She won some gold, right?
Yeah. Yes, she did.
I played it real safe with that one.
Boy.
You know, I actually usually like watching the Olympics, but I haven't
Even
seen
that,
much of it
even
this
if you
year.
don't watch the Olympics, just the association with the Islanders, it makes it hard not to hear when Katie Ledecky wins something.
That's true. That's actually the biggest news that the Islanders have broken lately is
Katie
what she's
Ledecky
doing
is
in the
actually going to
Olympics.
be playing on the top line for
Right.
the Islanders.
She's the big signing.
Yeah.
Right. It's not Palmieri or Parise. It's actually Katie Ledecky. Yeah, it turns out she can skate too when the water's frozen.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if she's as fast as she is on ice as she is in the water, I mean, just teach her to shoot a little bit. I'm sure that'd be a pretty good.
you never know. So, folks, obviously we're not working with much here for the Hero of the Week. We kept it with Lou just because of the wizardry he was able to pull off, where we seem to know what happened as far as the free agents go, but we don't officially know because he's been able to keep everybody silent. The players, the agents, his own staff.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive. So we'll give it to Lou 2 weeks in a row. Maybe he will be general manager.
Maybe the next time we do a show, there'll be news.
Hopefully. So, but the most important thing is that it's brought to you by the Blue Line Deli and Bagels Half Price Hero. Once again, the Hockey Night in New York featuring grilled chicken, buffalo sauce, mozzarella cheese, avocado in a wrap. Again, head on over to Blue Line Deli and Bagels, where we're at right now for half off the Hockey Night in New York. Until next week, just mention us and you get yourself a great deal. Can you hit the button there that says Maine?
Yes.
Christian, fantastic.
There we go.
So there's your Hero of the Week. And is there anything else we really need to? I mean, do you want to just go through? You don't have it up, do you? Oh, you do. The chat. You want to see if there's any other questions from the audience before we wrap this thing up?
Donald should have been hero of the week.
Donald would have been great.
Donald
would have been great for sure. Absolutely. He's an honorable mention.
I don't think there's really any questions.
All right, so
Because we kind of asked BComp the questions as we were going through.
that's true.
And that's really
true.
Those are the questions. So
Look, I'll say this: it's been a wild.
I think we
offseason.
should be the hero of the week for pulling an
course you do.
hour and 12 minutes of a show with nothing have happened in a week.
GM of the year, 3 years in a row. Lou is a dynasty. Mike is on fire today. Give that man
Seriously,
a job.
can we hire him?
We might. We're going to talk to him in the offseason. But, I mean, speaking of the offseason, just probably the most action-packed offseason that I can remember as far as free agents go, trades go.
Yes.
Just a lot going on. A lot of people, heading
that Tiny
elsewhere.
Human agrees.
I mean, yes, he does. The Carolina Hurricanes getting rid of both of their goalies, bringing in 2 new goalies. I mean, when do you see that happen? Just all the turnaround
and
in the
then
league.
throwing their foot in the Tony D'Angelo
Just a
saga,
PR
which
night.
is,
Why
which
would
is
you
very
do
interesting.
that?
Sean and I were talking about this before the show. Aside from the off the ice stuff with Tony D'Angelo, whatever you're feeling on it is, it is what it is. But for a guy he had one good season with the New York Rangers, and I never really saw the appeal of what Tony D'Angelo did as a player. And why the Rangers were so high on him. I get it. He had one good year, but it never seemed like it was something going to be substantial or it was going to be sustained. And he didn't sustain it last year.
Yeah.
I mean, he acted like a clown with not the stuff off the ice, but even just his interactions with his teammates and the way he acted on the ice. It just wasn't worth it. This guy's bounced around for 2-3 different
Sarah
teams.
Sivian of The Athletic, actually, who covers the Hurricanes, she had a great piece on it. And she talked about the whole situation. And look, it seems for the Hurricanes, it just came down to money. They found a guy who can replace Dougie Hamilton on the cheap.
But I don't even know if he
But is
replaces
it worth
Dougie
Right.
Hamilton.
No, I don't think he does. But that's a team
That's
who
what I'm
has
talking about,
always
a point of
had,
contention
no
right
matter
now.
who the owner's been, they've always had an internal cap. They never spend up towards the
Right.
top. They're always looking for ways to save money. I mean, and another backwards move is stealing that kid goalie. He had a great year. It looked like they finally solved their goaltending problems, and they ship him off, and he's gone. And now they're going with Ranta and Anderson? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I mean, look, to the Islanders and the
interesting.
Metro Division's benefit, but I don't know what's going on down there in Carolina. They have a good young team. They're going to be tough. I think they're going to be one of the top teams in the division this year. But some questionable
They've been
moves.
one of the top teams in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
Very
for
good
sure.
team.
For sure. Well, they're back in the Metro, and
Yep.
it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But I don't know what those guys are doing. But, yeah, a lot of movement throughout the league, which is exciting to see because you see all the hype for free agency, all the hype for the draft, and then nothing ever happens. And then finally,
We got a year. It finally happened.
like it made up for the
it
last
had
couple
to
of years.
this year because every team is trying to deal with this new cap system
the
that the Islanders
expansion
have,
draft and
expansion
everything.
draft and everything else that was going
Right.
on. So
Right.
if there was any year that it was going to happen, it was this year.
Yeah, I think you're right. So we alluded to this last week, Christian. It looks like August is going to be an off month for Hockey Night in New York.
Wonderful.
Right, Christian can't wait to take a vacation.
Extra beach day.
Yeah, perhaps. But yeah, folks, barring any big news for the Isles, we're probably going to shut it down for August and try to have some Sundays for ourselves. Again, if something comes up, maybe we'll pop in there and share some news with you guys. But we're probably going to shut it down. But guys, I know we said it last week, but I want to say it again to everybody who's been tuning in live at twitch.tv/Hockey Night New York and Hockey Night NY, I should say, and tuning in on the podcast. We can't thank you enough. You're the lifeblood of the show, and it keeps us coming back. We really appreciate it. I love doing the show. I know Christian is semi-okay with doing the show.
I enjoy it a lot.
But we really appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and you really make it worth it for us. And I've been having a blast, and we can't wait to come back next week. So just want to send a thank you.
Next week.
Sorry, next season.
There you
Next
go.
season, yeah. Thanks for the.
And we have some.
That's why you're here.
And we have some fun stuff planned for next season as well.
Yes. Like I said, we're gonna have the off-season meetings.
Yes.
Summer meetings. We're gonna talk about some stuff behind the scenes here. Try to keep things fresh and exciting for you guys next season. But we really appreciate you guys hanging out with us.
Sean will actually try and trade me for
uh,
Molly Walker at this point.
And that might happen. But we're going to announce the winner of the jersey giveaway. We want to thank people for coming into Blue Line Deli and Bagels today, entering the raffle. We're gonna announce that winner probably next week.
Cool.
And we thank you guys for that. And I guess with that, we're going to cue the music here. So we want to send a huge thanks to Brian Compton of NHL.com for joining us today, talking about the Isles, talking about the NHL. A huge thanks to Blue Line Deli and Bagels for hosting us here for our special edition of Hockey Night New York here at Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington. Remember, check out the menu at BlueLineDeli.com and head on down for great food, great times, great people. And a big thanks to Ty Technology, a voice-over IP company providing phone services for businesses across the country. Check them out at TyTechnology.com for all your telecom needs, or give them a call at 516-856-7800 and get 3 free months of service. That is 3 free months of service. And again, a big thanks to you guys for hanging out with us. A big thanks to you, Christian Arnold. Couldn't have done it without you, pal.
Same.
It really hurt to say it.
I know,
but
I can
true.
see it in your face.
But
it's been
but
fun. It's been a lot of fun.
It's been a lot of fun, buddy. Can't
we'll
wait
see
till
if it
next
stays
season.
fun next season.
We'll see. That's the jury's still out. We'll see. But remember, folks, you can follow Christian on Twitter at C_Arnold01. You can follow myself at Shawnee Hockey. You can follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Hockey Night NY. For Christian Arnold, my name is Sean Cuthbert. Check us out at HockeyNightNY.com. Remember, keep up with us on social media. We're still going to be putting stuff out there.
Yep.
And folks, have a great summer. We will see you soon.